God, I gotta interrupt you.
Okay.
This is why we're called an eco base camp. What you're looking at, because it's a frame of reference to seeing nature rather than human ideas, which are political. Sorry about that. It's constant. My day to day. It's my day to day. I'm turning into an evangelist here.
Okay, and today is the 21st of August. I'm interviewing Keith Campbell of Native Experience, a campground between Stanton and Sullivan, Missouri, right on Route 66. Keith, maybe you would like to tell us how you got in business here.
How I got in business here. You might say following a dream, and this is where it brought me. And camping's at the heart of it. Adventure's at the heart of it. And what's interesting about Route 66, how that ties in with camping and adventure, is that it's like an international artery that kind of puts us in touch with the whole world, if you will. And being here, Route 66 is, how would I put it? I've been learning about Route 66 every day since I've been here, and coming to understand what that value is for that. Is it Route 66? Oral history? What's going on?
Do you have a...
Sorry to interrupt. What?
Do you have a ditch digger?
Ditch digger? Yeah, go to the lagoon area.
Yeah. We're going to make some poles for the screen on the side stage.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Where did you grow up?
St. Louis. From St. Louis originally. And worked at Sullivan Learning Center for 8 years. Got a degree in philosophy. And an adventure enthusiast, kayaking, skydiving, backpacking, that type of thing. And really what we have here is a base camp. That's as a base camp along Route 66. As people travel through, they can come here, use this as a staging area to be able to go out and explore Missouri, go out and explore the Ozarks area, and then when they take off, stick with the route on the way out. Really just be able to slow people down and be able to kind of suck the marrow out of life, if you will, by slowing down and seeing these things and understanding that the things around them have been growing to what they are. As far as I guess the vision that I'm seeing with Route 66, I guess that's really what I want to get after. That the building here is was originally built as a KOA in 1969. But what I'm seeing is camping is something that goes all the way, predates the construction of Route 66 itself as the way that people traveled to see America. And what's fascinating about that is to try to imagine these, this used to be a wagon train road right here. Prior to Route 66, this was the old wagon road, Springfield. So realizing that, being able to visualize historically, going back, travelers coming through these different time periods and seeing it go from the wagon to the truck camper to families just staying in tents.
The Wire Road was an Indian trail originally, if I'm not
Right,
wrong.
even more, yeah. So trying to capture a sense of this historical progression that's come through, right through here, right in front of us. And you go there and you don't see that, but it's there. That's real. That is what's real. So the vision that I'm seeing for base camp is trying to create a timeline, if you will, a real timeline where you've got a real wagon, you've got a real camper from the 20s, you've got something that like the solar car, so you can create this spectrum so people can now be here in a recreational setting where they're not rushed long enough to go, hey, what's going on here? This is what we're talking about. So in one place to open up that this is what's been going on right in front of them, although we can't see that. And then what's fascinating is once a person can see that, they realize that it's people coming through that are the real historians. And it's like how to hear these stories that I'll hear from people, in 1951, me and my family came through here, and I was only 7 years old, and they talked about car crashes back then, and they talked about different developments, and just people they're only a generation away. When you hear them talk, you start to get a sense of how different it was just 50 years ago. This is country. People were traveling through and kind of makeshifting their way across America, and all of this kind of comes out. And without a doubt, through every person, if you take the time to listen to them, there's almost every time there is an adventure that they had on Route 66, almost every time that they're wanting to share.
Let me ask you, you grew up in St. Louis. How did you find this place? And why did you locate particularly here?
Following a dream, and this place became, that's the easiest way I can say it. There's a lot of ways to buy a campground, but I was looking for that type of place that had all those ingredients for adventure, especially the international artery. And this right here is what I see most people overlook, not realizing that you have an international, and we've already had people from Norway here, we've already had people from Scotland here. Now you're sitting about talking around the campfire to somebody from Scotland that's taken the whole route. Not in a bar rushing off, not over a beer, around the campfire where there's time. There's time to hear the story, there's time to meet the people, there's time to get a sense of something. And that, I think, is in finding a location, that international artery, and the depth. I've got a minor in history as well, so I've got a historical frame of reference automatically anyway, so I could see that value, but it's been a process of illuminating what that value is. What is that historical value?
28?
No, 36, believe it or not. Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone thinks I'm just out of college.
You're still relatively young to be
Well, I was supposed to be the youngest campground owner in America at one point when I first got it.
But you're aging.
And that's not a good thing. Everybody's like,
Let me ask you, what are some of the hassles you've had in trying to do
with Route 66,
yeah.
or just the camp?
The campground with the city, with the state, whatever it happens to be.
We have absolutely a new and truly original idea here. I think it really fits with the blue whale on Route 66, or some of the things you see on Route 66 where you see a once-off original thing happening. We have that happening here, and the challenge that I've had is holding on to what we're really about, being true to what we're about. But the rest of the world doesn't want to recognize that because it's new. They don't even know how to. The resistance, I have a hard, and even with Route 60, the resistance is amazing from people just going, hey, what's a new idea mean? And actually, on that note, what I'm seeing that Route 66 is preserving through, and I'm saying this from my personal experience now, is when you can preserve these original architectures that were built by people, and these different odd dreams, there really is something to be said about preserving something about America for that. There really is, because you just are not seeing that stuff as much
Well, you're
anymore.
having a big festival today.
Yeah, Organic Groove.
Explain how you came up with that and what it is.
Organic Grooves, and it's a philosophy just like Base Camp is a philosophy. And where the overlap is that what we're creating here is a place, there's over 150 musicians here for one weekend. And the reason the musicians are coming is because there's this open format. This is about letting musicians come together and create new sounds and original sounds randomly and spontaneously. And that's why that fits with what we do, because we do that on the adventure. Hey, jump in the car and peel out to California. Hey, jump out, and that's what we do. We're a base camp for that. So now for musicians, we're bringing all of these very talented musicians and providing a long enough time period for them to get to know each other around the fire, so to speak, and create that sense of community. And just last night, things just took off. As an example, I was up all night because of that spontaneity. Happened, and it unfolded.
That was Friday night.
That was last night, yeah. And I don't know how to explain it. It's just something that happens or it doesn't. Most people don't have the patience for it. They're waiting for, okay, 9 o'clock, I'm waiting for the entertainment. And that's not what we do here. So a lot of people, I just say, look, if that's what you want, that's not what we have here. This is kind of raw. Don't know what's going to happen. Go with the flow. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's really what's going on here.
It's a matter of knowing what you're getting into.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But articulating that's always the struggle, which comes back to is articulation of a new idea, because what I'm seeing is everybody wants the expectation thing. And here it's those expectations don't fit with your expectations. Same thing with Route 66. People might have an expectation of Route 66, but those expectations hinder the perception of what really is there.
Well, and the thing about old roads is you're going to get lost now and then.
Yeah, which I think is a good thing, because that's where your adventure starts. You know, is being open to that. You know, and being open to be inquisitive and interpretive and finding yourself looking at something and exploring and going, now how'd you end up out of your car with 2-hour delay now because you're sitting there poking around, you know, some little part on the route trying to discover and find out what's going on. But that's a spontaneity, you know, it's being able to go with that spontaneity to inquire and discover and explore and find out. And that's why the route is really like an artery that really fits with that spirit of adventure, if you will.
What is, when you have a vision for the place here, 10 years down the road, whatever it is, what do you see? What do you want this place to look like?
I'll answer it in 2 parts. Historically, I see the timeline so that people can get a sense of travel. And my hope is through seeing that spectrum of travel, people will realize that travel is something we create. That travel's not still the same. That to me is the most exciting thing about Route 66, is it shows the evolution of ideas and dreams and inventions and how that can transform travel, the way we travel, the way we explore, the way we discover, the way we learn, all has that way we travel as a common denominator in it. So to me, that's what's fascinating. And just because you're doing this, I'm going to throw a wild idea out, because that's what I do.
Good, do it.
And as a philosopher, this is what I do, so I don't feel bad about it. We're looking at building a concept here called a high-performance balloon. And that's an invention. And I'm a parachutist, and what that means is that in parachuting, it went from a round parachute, and what happens is you can't pick where you land. You just come crash landing wherever. Well, a high-performance parachute is square. It's like a wing. And the difference is you can land exactly where you want. Ballooning has not made that quantum leap yet. And so now I'm getting my balloon license as we speak. I'm already a licensed parachuter, and what I'm looking at flying by next year is a high-performance balloon, which is a new form of travel. And how does that fit with Route 66? That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's out of the box. It's a whole different way of thinking. But it happened on Route, exactly. And that spirit of adventure and that spirit of travel and all of that is at the foundation of all of that. You know, and it's only through being able to get a sense of place and sense of history can even, in my way of seeing things, can you water the seed for new ideas to even happen, because that's what made Route 66 what it is. Anyway, I know that's a wild one, but and in here I got a parachute in here, I've got a balloon in here, I've got helium in here. We test these things every day on Route 66 in the shed. That's what we work on.
Now you have maps and that along the wall. Maybe
it's a portal. This is what you're seeing.
Explain that.
Okay,
yeah.
You're looking at the world's first portal, and here's the other part of my answer. I'm going to start right here, actually, where the definition is a base camp to the ecosystem, eco-base camp, or a life zone.
State of Missouri with the Ozarks and
but
Sullivan, I'm assuming, or Stanton.
Yeah, where we are now,
yeah.
Right. And as a base camp, what we're saying is that we know what Missouri is, we know what America is, but in reality, when you get to altitude, those don't exist. Those are figments of the human imagination and don't exist in reality. However, you can see for real the life zone that you're in by definition of what's living there. You know, literally, it's a green area. And so this is like a quantum leap, you know, because environmentalism, caring for the planet, becoming a steward, all of these things are bottlenecked right now until people can realize they're part of a life zone more than they're part of a state. in nature and in reality. And through that understanding, that orientation, if you will, then they leave the portal off on the right foot, oriented to not only the people and their political ideas and culture, which is what these maps are for, but also in nature, that you're a part of that. Again, going back to Route 66 and camping, this is where it all came from, and trying to preserve that connection from nature is where we came from, all the way to the road. Not just cutting that off in 1920, that there's a whole spectrum of time and evolution that's happened.
And the next image over there is?
This is actual native experience, and this has to do with, if you don't mind me going on here, okay, time.
Please, go.
It's spatially coordinated time destinations. And what that means is it's not just arriving in the place, it's arriving in the place at the right time. That's native experience, if that makes sense. That it's being on that bluff right at sunrise versus at 2 in the afternoon. Things like that. So this is what this is. And this is going to be for any traveler coming through as we build this concept. They're here. I'm going to say, first of all, break your plans. I know you got to rush down the road, but stay a couple days. So this right here is the first expectation we break, is changing your time, that you're here longer than you plan. And then while you're here, starting to get a sense of, okay, this is where I am. Do I really want to get some depth of where I am while I'm here? Because a lot of people, like the guys from Scotland, the guys from Norway that have already been through, is taking the time to discover where they are, rather than just rushing through, taking a picture, say they saw it. And so this gives them a way to have simple destinations right here to go visit.
Like
it's going to have a picture of it's going to be a picture with a map, GPS coordinates, and it's an adventure, honestly. It's like geocaching or you know what I'm saying? It's like when you do the Route 66 and you got your itinerary of places you want to stop. That's what this is, but for a bioregion, for a life zone. So now you're here, you got a sense of that through a couple days of experiences that start here in the portal, take off, come back, and now you're ready to head back down the route. But now you're leaving with an enriched native experience, so to speak. And a way of thinking a native experience would be like if you went to Thailand, would you stay in a Holiday Inn and eat McDonald's? Or would you eat Thai food and meet the Thai people and maybe stay in a straw? Well, which one would... See, and this is where we are. Native experience is this, but if that's not you, then there's the other world, that corporate world or whatever, that's got those standards. But we are definitely native experience. And through local people, learning their gear and proper travel, safety, etiquette, all of these different things. Etiquette's a big one, just how to have a positive impact is what this wall is really about. Before you go out anywhere, how do you have a positive impact on the people, the place, and the land? Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge that this is overcoming right here, or tackling, if you will.
Your logo is a spiral with like Da Vinci Man in the middle, sun around it, and it looks like water. Is that the logo for your campground?
Yeah, it is.
Native experience?
And that ties to learning. Like I said, I was in education for 8 years running Sullivan Learning Centers, and really the essence of what that's getting at is, and there's a lot of ways to interpret things, obviously, but the idea of human potential and how to reach your potential. That's what we're here to do in life. And so this is really a base camp ultimately for the individual to fulfill their dream, to fulfill their potential. And this symbol has to do with that's your kind of life path, that's your potential. And this is universal sign language, what Lewis and Clark used to navigate through different dialects. And that's the symbol of truth that they used, or Native Americans used, in the sense that truth was a relative thing. You meet in a circle to find higher ideals. Okay. That's what that means, yeah. And so this is the idea that we need each other to establish a bearing on our own path to reach our own potential. That it's not a solo thing, it's if that makes sense, yeah. That's how you work together. And then this right here is an example of positive impact, okay? This is, okay, let's say you're gonna go fishing. You're just in from Germany, okay, you're like, man, I would love to go fishing. I've never even seen bass, we don't have those or whatever. This is our eco stop, so that before you depart and you're out in the environment, before you impact that, now you go, well, guess what? If you just caught, the spotted bass versus this, you know what the difference is? You still get a fish, you're still gonna have an adventure, but here's what the difference is. Just in that simple little suggestion is This species is already struggling with its habitat. So if you fish for that species, you're going to be damaging that species, damaging the whole ecosystem just through your form of recreation. But ironically, if you just chose the other, just as tasty, if you will, the other bass, that's actually outcompeting the other species, which is why that's endangered. So you could still have a great adventure, but more importantly, you're going to feel good about your impact that you had on the ecosystem because you're simply redirected to that positive. So this is very powerful. A lot of people go, learn about, if you're going to go caving, learn here where you can get the proper safety equipment. Don't show up at the cave without it and go, oh, I need that safety gear. That's what a portal is. It's modeled after the Grand Canyon to help. The Grand Canyon helps control people before they go into that ecosystem because before people are burning it down, leaving trash, just completely ignorant. That's what we're trying to do with the ecosystem here, is simple suggestions that will alter that. Poisonous snakes, how many people go, well, what's a copperhead look like? Well, that's why that's here, it's posted. What's a black widow look like? What's poison ivy look like? That'll make or break your trip.
That would be an adventure.
Yeah.
A little portal to something.
It's the adventure you didn't really want to go. So that little portal just could have changed the total outcome of your trip through slight influences like that. Political orientation, imagine if we're all traveling in a different country and we could benefit from something like this. Oh, we're getting to go in Saudi Arabia. Oh, good thing I looked at the political orientation here. I got to cover my face because I'm a woman because they'll shoot me or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Things like that are political orientation that affect the impact of what's going to happen and affect the total outcome of your experience as well as your impact of what you're immersing yourself into.
How do you attract people? How do you may be the center of this, but how do people know that? How do you deal with that?
What I'm seeing is there's a learning problem. I don't know how. Not everybody's inquisitive and learning, and so that stunts this growing. And so people, like for example, this festival, you have all these people here that are here for a festival, they're having a good time, but honestly, they don't even know really what we're doing here. They just know they're having a good time because they don't have that natural desire for learning. They don't have that sense of inquiry, so to speak. And this also relates to Route 66, is because to me that's where what it's all about. That's what history is inquiring what was there before, and getting a sense of that. And that shapes how you relate to it then, if you can make that an accurate perception. And what I'm seeing is in this area, most people just want to drink beer, go down to the river, party. They don't want anything to do with learning, with history. They don't want it. The majority, the majority of people. They want the opposite of that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm trying to hold the ground long enough for people, like yourselves to come, okay, well, what the hell is this guy doing? Is he just making this up? It's not. These are original ideas. I'm driven by a vision. It's like carrying 5 backpacks I don't want to carry anymore,
Do you have a website?
We do, Ecosystem Base Camp.
You get contacts through travelers on Route 66?
Yeah, we do, where they can get some information, different things. Hey.
We're looking for some rope.
Rope?
Yeah. Okay,
outfit underneath the bar. You just got to dig through those bags. There should be webbing, rope, also in those drawers.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, that's an example of outfitting. Before you take off to the jungle, out into the native land, whatever, or you're coming back, we have outfitting. You can fix your tent, repair your backpack, your car, wash your car, clean it. All of that is done right here in the portal. Wash your clothes after a muddy cave trip, that type of thing. But safety too is another thing. As a skydiver, I've got a heightened safety awareness. That's why I'm still here. And that's across the street, by the way. There's skydiving in the atmosphere all the time. And that's part of native experience, is getting that sense of everything that's around you. But I'm not sure where I was going with that. The safety, I guess you might say the portal is helping you get these safety orientations. And, a lot of people talk about the tragedy of Route 66. I've heard lots of tragic stories. Kids being killed, lots of
bad curbs.
Just the road was a dangerous.
Having a 4-lane highway.
Yeah. But back then, I guess how they built the roads, I mean, it was dangerous compared to how it is now. And there's a lot of stories I hear about that, you know, kids getting
As a
killed.
kid growing up, we traveled. I'm 61, and actually your whole thing here reminds me of growing up in the late 50s and early 60s. Much of it coming out of California, but that whole idea of wholeness and back to really experiencing things. Hippie movement, I don't know what you want to... What you're saying is not a hippie movement.
Yeah, it's really not. Honestly, it's a pretty straightforward.
But visibly, it looks very similar.
Right.
It looks
like a back to the land movement.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, with the learning and everything that I'm coming from, I try to keep things very apolitical and very straight-laced on a lot of things.
A great deal has to do with the ecology.
Yeah. Well, realizing that just like the placenta cares for the baby, so the life zone cares for us to even entertain the conversation that we have now. And that's a sense that strikes you all the way to the core once you have that gestalt, that insight. And so this is what we're saying is environmentalism, not antagonistic political agendas or tie-dyes and dreadlocks. And okay, just to compare it to the hippie thing, okay, when we go out and do stuff, the last thing you wear is cotton. You know what I'm saying? It's not, like hippies aren't even ready to go out into nature.
Now you live here with your...
Follow the Grateful Dead or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if hippie is such a movement anymore as it is.
Well, it's not, yeah.
I think I was saying outwardly it looks similar.
Yeah.
But your explanation.
It's new. It's original. Yeah.
It's
original. I can honestly say it's original stuff. I'm not saying it's the first, but it's original. And
what impressed me a little bit when the band first started up there was that the gentleman got up and said that they were in the process of trying to buy a piece of jungle.
Yeah.
For $25,000 so that they could preserve that jungle.
Yeah.
That impressed me.
And that's what we do here for our own ecosystem, ultimately. And what's interesting on that note is the indigenous people there are chopping their forests down that they've lived off of for 10,000 years to get enough money to buy things. And then once they've expended that, and then they have nothing to sustain them, and now they're screwing themselves out of the very thing that has kept them alive. This is a pattern, and our philosophy here is saying that's all rooted in people not realizing that value, that natural value, that life-supporting value that's there, you know? And the best way to get a sense of that is to throw yourself in it, you know, to put yourself in that, you know, and experience that and get that full sense. And that's where the timeline on Route 66 is so important, because if you could see this old 61 camper and maybe camp in it, or camp in an old wagon train, and you have that opportunity to immerse yourself and wake up in the morning and go, my God, look at, you know, this is what it would have been like first thing in the morning and it's breakfast. And you're in a wagon train, or think of a solar car when the solar cars come through here. Futuristic, or, you know, and just creating that spectrum for the mind and imagination to open. To me, that's what Route 66 is about. It's not about what it was, but that it provided that format for these things to emerge and grow, and then preserving it to hopefully discover these things. Well, what possessed this guy to do that, you know? What possessed the guy to build a blue whale?
It was an amusement park.
Was it?
Yeah. It was actually a big water slide, and it's on a pond I wouldn't swim
There
in.
is the interesting concept.
For love or money.
What possessed the dude to build the Indian totem pole
Yeah.
out there?
Yeah. These guys, Bob and
plant
Kathy, are
bunch of
living it,
Cadillacs.
building their teepees up
the
there.
Lincoln up in Illinois. Yeah.
You
That's
live
what-
here with your wife, and you have a daughter?
Yep, daughter and a son that live here.
Young
Two
kids.
sons in the city. Yeah.
And they like this. Your
It's.
family
I
like
would
it?
say it's rough here. Honestly, when you're on the route on a daily basis, it's like being on the front line. Honestly, I mean, because what you have is, honestly, God's creation is coming through the front door, good and bad, if you know what I mean. And so you try to get a sense of the base camp thing. Is what we try to do, or what I try to do, is constantly redirect people to where, you know, at base camp, It's where you're going is what's important, what the next stage in your adventure is. And so always trying to be true to that, even if it's people that aren't going to really fit with the camping environment. Still try to hear them out and understand where they're coming from on their adventure to redirect them to the most appropriate place, you know. So if you got a bunch of drunk guys that want to party and get sunburnt and not pay attention to anything, I'll send them down to people that do that. We don't do that here, you know. But that's what we can still be true to what we're doing.
Well, do you have anything you'd like to add? You have a whole lot of ideas.
Yeah, what we try to do here is all these ideas are physically built, you know, trying to transcend just the conceptual aspect of things and get it down to working. And obviously it's a project, you know, as people interact, I adapt and change things, so it is very much a growing concept. And just, I guess what I see most of all is just trying to hold on to that sense of imagination and adventure and a sense of doing new things. And new ideas can happen where we are. That we're not afraid of inventions. We're not afraid of new ideas. We're not afraid of originality. And let these things kind of spring up here at base camp.
But there's also a lot of day-to-day work here.
Oh yeah,
Assuming just upkeep.
It's nonstop. But that comes back to the people problem. People nowadays that come out and they don't know what no trace camping is. They don't have that ethic in them. They don't care to learn it. They don't even want to hear it. They just want to go carry on. And you know, and what we're trying to do here is say, no, that ethic starts here. You know, you start being a positive impact. That's what we do here. You know, that's what we want people to become all together, learning how to be a positive force. And I think if we can break through those barriers, you know, this timeline that we're talking about, and you know, and people working together to create things that we're all going to be proud of to look back on for our kids and our kids' kids and all of that. But that American spirit of invention, I keep coming back to that. America, you know, a lot of people have complaints about America, but you know, that how I see it is what an awesome place where you can see dreams, you know, like what we're doing here, and inventions and new ways of seeing and thinking and seeing those things happen for real. That is, to me, where it's at. That's the ultimate adventure that I'm seeing.
Well, I really appreciate the chance to talk with you, and this will become part of oral history, and it will be typed up, and I will send you a CD. I need to get your address and
Cool.
your name after we shut off here, so I have all that, and I'll send you a copy of the interview to you.
All right.
Thanks
Awesome.
a lot.
Thanks.
I appreciate it.
No, thank you. I'm going to get a video clip, man.